Estate with Champions Real Estate Team here at Berkshire Hathaway Home Service Ambassador Real Estate Company. My name is Mark Wehner, the second team leader here. So every Wednesday we jump on, give a rundown on what's going on in the real estate market over the last 7 days and such. And then we always start with a quick tip. Quick tip today is as we're kind of going into fall, it's a great time to get in touch with your HVAC specialist to get that furnace serviced. Make sure they do a quick rundown, quick diagnostic on it, and make sure everything is tip-top shape for you. So you're not, all of a sudden it gets cold and all of a sudden you're like, what happened to my furnace? So just quick tip, give your, if you need any recommendations, give us a holler here at Champions Real Estate Team. We can get in connection with good HVAC companies and stuff. So that way you guys can get your stuff taken care of. So that's just a quick tip, just general maintenance. You don't think about it until all of a sudden your furnace doesn't kick on. So just get out there, make sure you get your stuff serviced, clean off your air conditioners before the end of the year, maybe with the hose and stuff, and just kind of get the general house maintenance around the house for the fall. So cool. All right, jumping into what's gone on in the real estate market over the last 7 days. Let's pull up our graphics here. So we have 769 new listings that went live over the last 7 days. So we ticked up a lot from obviously the the Labor Day weekend, which we were down, I think, about 500 or so. So we saw a decent jump in our new listings, which is typical this time of year. New contracts, about similar. What we've been seeing over the past couple of weeks, right around that 400, I think. Last week with the holiday, we were right around, I think, 360 or something like that, if I recall. And then 500, just over 500 happy new homeowners over the last 7 days. So congratulations to them. So like I said, as we're seeing more houses come on the market, the biggest important thing for that is make sure those houses that are coming on the market are priced right. You don't want to have, the mindset of, oh, my neighbor sold their house, 3 months ago for X. What is the market showing right now? In your area and pricing it, because you don't want that, to get shop worn where that house stays on the market. And also, when you're doing price reductions, you end up selling it for less than what you would have done if you would have just listed it appropriately for the time of year and things of that sort. So let's jump in and see a 30,000 foot view. So this is kind of carry over from what we were just talking about with activity wise. So we just broke the 4,000 mark for the first time in a little while of active listings in the Omaha and Lincoln area. And then we have Douglas Sarpy County, 2365. So that's up just a little bit. 1,410 homes. I think we're at 1,360, I believe, last week. New construction went up by a whole 2 houses. So it went up to 955, was 953. Number to pay attention to here is this number, the months of inventory. So that's kind of our barometer of how much inventory is on the market. So what that means is we have almost 4 months supply of inventory. If no more houses came on the market, we could withstand, our supply demand for about 4 months at 3.7. So when we're getting into that 3 to 4 month supply, that's kind of like a neutral market, more of a healthier market. I've heard some agents talking. We have seen some multiple offers on a few listings, but right now there's a lot of houses out there that have just been on the market for a little bit that agents and sellers are starting to discount, or reduce that price. And I see it every day. It's seller says, make me an offer, and the emails that I get from other agents that, hey, make us an offer, make us an offer. And so there's sellers that are out there that are motivated. So now's a great time, obviously, to get out there. And, instead of buying a house in the spring and, waiting for all the buyer traffic to get out there. And I'm sure Russ will talk about this in a minute here, but talk about kind of how rates have kind of just been fluctuating back and forth, and we kind of got on the downside a little bit here. So that's going to potentially draw more buyers into the buyer pool, and then that, just simple supply and demand on that. So now's a great time to get out there and see what inventory, see if there's anything that trips your trigger. And we talked about timing the market. It's more about when you're ready to buy a house. What is the timing right for you? And if, that's what we got to look at and get a good coaching session with you, sit down with you as a buyer and going to get a good game plan for you. So average sale price, 358. Numbers kind of been stagnant there, for the last couple weeks at that 358 mark, and is up about 3.2% from last year. So let's jump in with Russ Williams with Williams Mortgage here. So he's going to kind of give us a rundown what's going on the market on the financial side. So how are we doing, Russ?
Doing pretty well, Mark. Mortgage rates have improved yet again. We're at the best levels of 2025. Keep in mind, mortgage rates typically adjust in anticipation of what the market direction is going. The reason why I say that is next week around this time, we'll start to have the Federal Reserve Bank in their every 6-week open market committee meeting, and it's widely expected that they'll drop the short-term rate. Things like credit cards, student loans, and auto loans are affected by that. by anywhere from a quarter to maybe as much as a 0.5%. A lot of folks think that means a 0.5% drop in mortgage rates. That's not the case. The market may have already priced that in. We don't know. But the reason why we're at the best rates of 2025 is a couple of reasons, mainly related to the job market. We saw that the jobs report for the last 3 months has been very dismal. And we just got news yesterday that the Bureau of Labor Statistics overestimated job creations between March 2024 and March 2025 by over 900,000, which means we didn't have near the robust economy over the last 18 months. And a lot of folks thought we did. That has driven money into bonds, and that has been favorable for mortgage rates. Having said that, with interest rates down, the news is going to get out, and a lot of folks are going to be jumping off the sidelines wanting to buy homes. And this is a good time to get in touch with Mark and his team and put a game plan together. Does that mean that home prices are going to rise or go down? Not necessarily. Typically, if we do hit recession, home values typically do move up in recessionary periods because mortgage rates go down, and that improves affordability for financed buyers, which financed buyers make up the majority of buyers out there. So this is the time, if you're thinking about buying now, fourth quarter, first quarter 2026, get in touch with Mark and his team and put a plan together. The opportunity will be there.
Yeah, and sometimes what I've seen in my 17 years, and you've probably seen as well, is sometimes people will pull out of the stock market for the uncertainty and they'll put it into assets, into a different asset class, i.e., real estate, because they're seeing that as the economy struggles a little bit, interest rates come down, they're going to pull the money out, put it into real estate, and then over time, they can either sell that real estate, they can, cash out, refinance, take that money out, put it back into the stock market when it gets a little bit better. So you don't just necessarily have home buyers. You may have some investors that jump in and the stock market, the equities, investments, and they may pull some of that money out just to the uncertainty and then put that into real estate. So it's just a matter of what everyone's game plan is and just kind of, how does all this stuff kind of affect, the big picture. And each individual that we meet with, whether it's a buyer or seller, is different. And so that's why we like to sit down and have a coaching session, and that way we can go over what your goals are as a homeowner, as maybe an investor, those type of things, and see what makes sense for you. Does not buying a house now, buying a house later, and those type of avenues, and just having, a good resource in your back pocket, like here at Champion Real Estate Team, any one of us can sit down with you and go over that. And then obviously partnering up with Russ from the mortgage side of it and seeing if there's some financing options that are out there that make sense for you. To get your foot in the door, or just buying an asset and capitalizing on that, appreciation that we may see. We don't have a crystal ball, but you talk to somebody 10 years, that bought a house 10 years ago, more than likely they're probably not disappointed in the appreciation they've gotten, in the last, in a couple of years and things like that. So you never know what, the house may go up. Like I talked about my personal example. I bought my very first house in 2007, Hearthstone split entry for 110. And then by 2010, 3 years later, they were building that exact same house for 104. So it's $6,000 cheaper at that time, 6% cheaper, at that time. But I kept it 11 years and ended up walking away with a decent chunk of change. I sold it for, was it 190, which I kicked myself for selling. I should have cashed out, refied it. Should have took some of my own advice here. But those are things that you live and you learn. Those are things I talk about to my clients. Here's the situation that I had, and then that way, you may relate to it. You may, see how does that benefit you? What are the different options that you have out there? And like I said, I don't really care what house you buy or I just want you to make the best decision with the information that you have, and sometimes that's relating to different people's stories or their experiences and saying, hey, that makes a lot of sense. Or, hey, I would have done it a little different this way. Or, maybe you talk to your financial advisor, you talk to your CPA, you talk to, the different, the people that you have in your corner, to help you make those decisions. And all we like to be is just be that real estate advisor for you in your corner and teaming up with a bunch of different professionals to help you make the best decision, for you, your family, your investments, and all that kind of fun stuff. So, awesome. Well, that's kind of all I have. I don't know if you have anything else, Russ, that you want to throw out there.
Nope. Enjoy the warmer weather. This might be our last really warm few weeks of the season. So enjoy it while it's here.
Awesome. Well, take care. Excuse me. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. Like I said, enjoy the weather, and we'll see everybody